Here we have a few tips about changing the leaf springs on pretty much any year Jeep Cherokee. Basically, at this point, every Cherokee that was made, the leaf springs are more than likely worn out, and it's a common thing. They pretty much all sag. This would apply if you are lifting your Jeep or if you're just replacing them with stock. If you're just replacing the leaf springs with stock or OEM style replacements. First thing I will say, you definitely need to soak all of the fasteners, all the bolts in penetrating oil. And it's not so much on the U-bolts that you have to worry. It's the bolts that hold the eyelets in place that you have to worry about. This is one of them. This is the front one. On this one, you're lucky enough, you can actually access it with an impact, so it's not too much of a problem. And then again, I also do live in the South, so we don't have rust issues as badly, so I may have just gotten lucky. But this is pretty much the easiest bolt to get to. Now, in the back, you've got a bolt that bolts to the shackle, and then there's a bolt that holds the shackle in itself. To get the leaf spring out, you're probably going to have to remove the shackle as well, because the way that the bolts are put in from the factory. As you can kind of see, here's the head, and then there's a nut on the back. There's a nut in the back. Well, from the factory, for whatever reason, that comes the other way around. So the head of the bolt's right here, and your shaft's sticking out, and there's a nut on this side. And the problem is, now I don't know if you don't have a trailer hitch if this is the problem, but if you have a trailer hitch on here, you can't back the bolt out. You have to actually undo the shackle, drop the shackle down, and then you can pull the bolt out of the eyelet and, pull your leaf spring out and all that. And like I said, I don't know if this is a problem if you don't have a trailer hitch, but if you have a trailer hitch, you're definitely going to have to undo the shackle. Which, in hindsight, it's probably not a bad idea to replace the shackle as well while you're in there, because you have to pull it down anyway. And, you're replacing the leaves, why not? Just something you're eventually going to have to do later. What else? The U-bolts you don't really have to replace. You can use your old ones unless they're too badly rusted, or if you're lifting it in that case, you definitely need to replace them because you're going to have a thicker leaf spring, and stock U-bolts are not going to be long enough to actually bolt it down. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, if you're going to unbolt the shackle, you definitely need to break this nut loose first. This bolt loose first, I guess you would say. Because if you undo it, if you undo the shackle and you try to undo this bolt, you're going to have a hard time, because every time you try to break it loose, you're just going to move the leaf spring and you're never going to be able to actually break the thing loose. Let's see. I mean, other than that, it's a fairly straightforward process. Your biggest issue is just going to come from breaking the bolts loose and, getting everything loose, I think, in my experience. Oh yeah, another tip. Undo both leaf springs at the same time. Don't try to just change one side then change the other, because you'll never get the axle lined up correctly. I mean, my original thought behind doing that was I didn't want to misalign the axle, but I'm also a doofus when it comes to this, and I forgot. There's actually a peg on the bottom of the leaf spring that connects to the axle. It sits on that little, I guess you would call it the perch, the spring perch. Well, the little nub that sticks out the bottom of the leaf spring will sit in that perch and lock it in place, and it'll line it perfectly, so you don't have to worry about that. But, I mean, other than that, it's fairly simple, and, it makes things look a lot better. Just having a saggy rear end, it looks like shit, it rides like shit, and if you ever go to tow a trailer or anything like that, you're just going to bottom out the suspension. I mean, mine doesn't sit too badly. I never did lift it, but it's a two-wheel drive. I don't see much reason to, and I also drive kind of fast, so I find it'd be counterintuitive, but, to each their own. Hope this helps out a little bit. Until next update, later.